Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, thank you so much for checking out my channel. I really appreciate it. All right, so this is the week two video. Basically, I'm gonna kind of review what you read last week, um, and then we'll start to talk about theme topic, and then we'll kind of preview what's coming for the rest of the week. All right, so obviously we started reading Flowers for Algernon. Hopefully you enjoyed that. The thing is, it's kind of an untraditional story, so I wanted to kind of just review what the story is about, how it's told. So that way, if you are confused, this will hopefully be like clarifying or make it less confusing. So, what is the story about? Well, first of all, it's about a guy named Charlie. He's the one telling the story, and he has been chosen to be in a medical experiment. That can be kind of hard to like sort out because there are so many spelling mistakes intentionally in the story. But he has basically like the what you read yesterday was or last week. He's going through those tests, like the Rorschach test. They do that other personality test, and they say he has been chosen in an experiment. Um, Now you read this last week. Let's see how many of you remember or were able to pick up on it. But there's gonna be a question up on the screen in a little bit, which is what is the goal of the medical experiment? Like what are the doctors trying to do with him in this medical experiment? Okay. Hopefully most of us got it right. If you were kind of like confused about the story or just couldn't remember, then I'll go ahead and say it. The goal of this experiment is to make Charlie smarter. So that's like the whole concept of the story. These doctors are trying to do this crazy experimental surgery on Charlie to make him smarter, to increase his intelligence. So that's kind of like what you'll see happen throughout the story. So something unique about the story, well, it's told in a first person narrative, meaning it's all told through the perspective of Charlie, and it's all told through his diary entries. Everything is told through his point of view. So one of the ways the story can kind of be confusing is that when Charlie is confused, you as the reader are kind of confused too because you're only seeing it from his perspective. You're never getting like kind of like the bird's eye view of what's happening. Everything is told through Charlie's perspective. So if he's not sure of what's going on, there's no way for us as the reader to be sure of what's going on. And with that is that there are a lot of misspellings. Hopefully you guys have been noticing that, like especially in the first few pages, there's just misspelling after misspelling after misspelling. And it can be kind of hard to sort out, like, wait, what word is this? Because he doesn't know how to spell a lot of words. And the reason there are so many misspellings is because Charlie is of below average intelligence. Um, Something to keep in mind is Charlie is like he's an adult. He's probably in his like it doesn't I don't think it says exactly, but I think he's in his like 30s. Um, but he isn't just like your typical dude who maybe isn't a good speller. He has like a mental disability is the best way to put that. Like he can function. He has a job. He lives on his own. He goes to night school. So it's not like he can't do anything, but he is of particularly kind of like low intelligence in terms of the way we define intelligence. And so that's the story so far. You're like reading the diary entries of this guy, Charlie, who has a mental disability, who's about to go through this experiment or already went through the surgery. I think you guys read that. Sorry, I can't remember presently. Um, but he's going to go through the surgery that will hopefully make him smarter. And you'll see kind of shortly if the experiment worked or not, especially if you're paying attention to the spelling mistakes. Like maybe you'll see less of them. Hint, hint. All right. So we can't come up with theme of the story yet because we're only like a quarter of the way through, and you really kind of need to read a whole story or a whole novel before you can figure out kind of what its themes are. But we can come up with theme topics. Now, if you remember from last week, hopefully you do, theme topics are like the one word, maybe two word phrases that aren't the theme, but kind of more of like the main ideas of the story or of a passage that can help you get to the theme. So we can't come up with the theme yet, but I think we can look at a couple passages and come up with theme topics, which is exactly what we're going to do. So basically, I'm going to read a little passage that you've already read from Flowers for Algernon out loud, and then on your own screen, you're going to come up with what you think a couple theme topics are. All right, let's look at the first one. So this is from like the second or third page of what you read last week. Progress Report 4, March 8th. They're going to use me. I'm so excited I can hardly write. Dr. Niemer and Dr. Strauss had an argument about it first. Dr. Niemer was in the office when Dr. Strauss brought me in. Dr. Niemer was worried about using me. Dr. Strauss told him Miss Kinnian recommended me the best from all the people who she was teaching. I like Miss Kinnian because she's a very smart teacher. And she said, Charlie, you're going to have a second chance. If you volunteer for this experiment, you might get smart. I don't know if it will be permanent, but there's a chance. That's why I said okay, even if I was scared, because she said it was an operation. She said, don't be scared, Charlie. You've done so much with so little, and I think you deserve it most of all. All right. So now what I want you to do on your own screen is come up with what you think a couple theme topics are. Remember, theme topics should be 1 or 2 words. Just like, what are some main ideas from this passage? All right. Hopefully you came up with something good. I'll look at it later. But I came up with intelligence, experiment, and risk. Intelligence, because that's kind of the whole point of what they're doing to him. They're trying to increase his intelligence. So that's clearly a main idea of the story. Experiment, because that's also what they're doing. This is like a risky operation. They've never done it before on a human. I'm kind of like reading between the lines for that. But this isn't like a typical go to the doctor, they prescribe medicine. This is like an experiment. This is something that they're kind of trying out. And then with that, risk. It's a big risk. I mean, you get brain surgery to mess with your brain. There's a lot that could go wrong there. And also, Charlie doesn't totally understand exactly what's going on. He kind of does, but he doesn't. So I think there's a big risk with that. Like, if something were to go wrong, he didn't sign up for it knowing necessarily all the things that could go wrong. So it makes it maybe a little morally compromised. Like, it can create a situation where the doctors really screwed this guy over, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's read one more topic, and you'll come up with a couple more theme topics. Or one more passage. Sorry. All right. We had a lot of fun at the factory today. Because remember, Charlie works at a factory. Joe Carp said, hey, look where Charlie had his operation. What did they do, Charlie? Put some brains in? I was going to tell him, but I remember Dr. Strauss said no. Then Frank Riley said, what did you do, Charlie? Forget your keys and open your door the hard way? Meaning, like, you open your door with your head? That made me laugh. They're really my friends and they like me. Sometimes somebody will say, hey, look at Joe, or Frank or George. He really pulled the Charlie Gordon. I don't know why they say that, but they always laugh. This morning, Amos Borg, who was the foreman at Donegan's, used my name when he shouted at Ernie the office boy. Ernie lost a package. He said, Ernie, for God's sake, what are you trying to be, a Charlie Gordon? I don't understand why he said that. I never lost any packages. Man, that's a sad, very sad passage. Even reading it, I'm like, oh, God, Charlie, that sucks. Okay, so on your own, come up with what you think a couple of the theme topics are for this article. Okay, so remember, theme topics are just like one word, one, maybe 2 words. So I put bullying because that's definitely what's going on. They're making fun of him. Oh, he pulled a Charlie Gordon, like he did something stupid. Intelligence, because, and that was also on my first one too. Intelligence, because they're bullying him because of his lack of intelligence, essentially. And ignorance. So hold on 1 second, guys. All right. Sorry, I had to get my baby. Sissy, say hi to the camera. Her name's Lily, but we call her Sissy because her big brother calls her Sissy. And ignorance, because ignorance is when you don't realize something is going on. And I put that as a theme topic because Charlie is ignorant as to what's happening. Like they're bullying him, they're making fun of him, but he doesn't realize that. And I think that's important. I think we might see more of that in the story later. Okay, so looking ahead to this week, you guys are going to. Sorry, I'm thinking through this. I just figured it out, and I'm trying to remember. Okay, sorry, I had to review what I had come up with, what levels I had come up with. So what you guys are gonna do is you're gonna tomorrow and Wednesday you're gonna read. It's gonna be a little longer of a reading than what you guys did last week. It's like a total of I think 8 pages, so not too long. But you're gonna do that on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then on Thursday, you're going to take a little reading quiz over what you've read so far, both of last week and then this upcoming week. So obviously, you guys can use your story on the quiz. I mean, all the questions are stuff that was directly pulled from the story, and it goes in order. So when you're taking that on Thursday, just feel free to look through the story and find every answer if you don't remember offhand. Um, and then on Friday, you're going to do another flip grid. But most of what you're doing this week is reading the story, and there'll be a couple questions per page of what you're reading, just to kind of like make sure you're understanding it. All right, bye guys. Thank you. Say bye, sissy. Say bye.